Alright guys, welcome back to VALORANT News. Major roster update over the last 24 hours with some rumours emerging as to exactly what Sentinels might be considering as they look to rebuild their roster, but also Derke rumours again emerging that North America are offering far greater salaries than what is possible in Europe, and therefore Derke might well be trialling with G2 about a potential move over to the Americas. Very much intrigued to your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoy, subscribe if you are new as always. Obviously, this is fake news. I just like to mention some of these tweets from time to time just to make sure you guys are keeping your eye out for tweets such as this from Ryan, and he makes it quite clear this tweet is not real, it's a test. Speculation says he'll replace Leo, which, obviously is not going to be true. So, yeah, we'll see. Maybe it's not completely impossible, but Fnatic will be looking for some sort of rebuild, and actually one of their former players, we are pretty sure we know where he is going to be going. Today, by the way, Ascension in the Americas gets underway in the playoff side, but in the Pacific side, they have got underway as well. But there's some big drama on this, and not a good start to the tournament at all for many of the players. So VCT Ascension Pacific is getting underway. Over 2,000 fans will be there in Jakarta, so pretty exciting stuff. But SK Rossi and other Hindu players have been deeply and understandably frustrated with the management of the, well, shall we say, catering behind the scenes. So what it seems has happened here is that the Hindu players, who of course don't eat beef, they have said on this sheet here, food allergy, can't eat cow meat, right? And this applies to many of these players that obviously have mentioned what they do or do not eat. And it turns out that they were served a meal that included beef. They were told it was going to be chicken, and yeah, this is really bad. This is really bad. And as SK Rossi says, like, super traumatized about this. There's lots of reaction to it, right? Even as Tricky here says, ate beef without knowing since we were assured that they'll only serve us chicken. So, the event hasn't even started yet, and already there's big drama going down, and understandably these players have, well, they're not especially pleased, and for very understandable reasons as far as I'm concerned. So, yeah, that we'll see where that goes from here. This as well from Yampy, I just wanted to mention because it was interesting that he was talking about the other day, 30th of August, like, I'm an RFA, bring me in, right, give me some trials or whatever, and then he replies and says, look, anyone else want to trial me? What's going on? Come on, guys, let's get some offers coming through the door. So, definitely arguable that maybe he isn't getting the opportunities that he would potentially like to see. One man that maybe, though, is Scream, and this is an exciting possibility. We didn't really know what Scream was going to be up to this offseason, whether he's going to play again, what he's going to plan to do after the difficult last couple of years that he's had. But yesterday he was spotted trailing, it seems, with the boys on M8, right, or gentle mates effectively. So this would maybe make a lot of sense. Of course, there would be a question, who's the in-game leader going to be? Is it just going to be Scream? Is he going to do the job? He also tweeted this out, or put this on his Instagram, which well, you can see is a picture of the globe, but also a picture of the Americas region in general, like North America, South America. So, maybe he's trying to tease a potential return to that region because, look, you can go and join an EMEA team, sure, but you ain't going to get paid as much money as you will if you go to the Americas, and we'll discuss that in a second. This was the other player that I kind of hinted at earlier. So Hero, of course, who had a good time on Fnatic this year, replacing Leo for a time. Then, of course, that, came to an end. The team did well with Hero. He definitely held his own, and he's apparently reached an agreement with Na'Vi. We've heard this rumored now for some time. Apparently that's now going to be effectively locked in, that Na'Vi are going to bring him in. And honestly, we know that Fnatic and Na'Vi have had a rivalry in region for the last several years. There's an argument that this, could this be a mistake by Fnatic in the longer term? Is this going to be a great acquisition by Na'Vi? Fnatic effectively do the scouting for them, then Na'Vi signed the player. That's going to be interesting. Nozwa apparently is going to be released by Furia. Of course, he had a pretty dramatic last season, but yeah, sounds like there's a pretty good likelihood that he's going to be leaving that team going forwards. But let's talk about what Sentinels are going to do and are going to consider doing going forwards. Tens, of course, confirming the other day now that he would have more than likely retired at the end of 2023 had it not been for Kaide and, basically her convincing him to do at least one more year. So it's cool that they got to win Madrid and they got to have that redemption, and now they are in position, Sentinels, where they absolutely need to rebuild their roster for the next season. And that's why people are wondering what's going on here. So Rob Moore says, hang in there, Sen City, have hope. Remember how bad things were in the 2023 season where we didn't win a damn thing. We will rebuild again. We have a strong foundation. Good news is coming soon, I promise, he says. So, yeah, exciting to see what Sentinels are cooking up behind the scenes. The question was, we talked about it yesterday, the Red Bull home grounds is coming up. So there's like 11 to 12 days to get confirmed what's going to be happening here. And as it stands, we don't know what that's going to look like, right? Whether they're going to confirm a full team or whether they're just going to say, hey, this is our roster, but it's not our official roster. That seems to be what Rob is implying here, because he says if a player's currently on a VCT roster, you can't make a roster move or announcement until 9:01 a.m. Pacific time, October the 7th. So that seems to be the Riot kind of deadline for when the new season starts, when you can then confirm what your player and team is going to be. But even if they can't confirm a player officially, of course, they can still say, well, hey, we're playing this Red Bull tournament, and, you know, this is our team, because they've got to say what the team is. Now, does that mean that the team for the Red Bull Homegrounds qualifiers is going to be the same as what they actually field when the season starts? Not necessarily, but yeah, Rob was certainly implying that they're moving in the right direction here. So I also wanted to share what MCE had to say, of course, former coach of various teams, on players to consider. His opinion is, if this had have happened last season, it would have been bad. But this season, there are so many options potentially available that Sentinels are going to be able to do a very good rebuild here.
Now, I think any other time in, you know, the Americas franchise history, this is very, very, very bad for Sentinels, like timing-wise. Like if this was at the end of last season or coming in, I think it would be really bad time. This is the best possible time this could have happened to Sentinels, in my opinion, in terms of, like we're saying, the talent level available, people's contracts expiring, Sentinels being the only team that is still like actively throwing money at people, where it's like, you know, man, this is a great time to be a Sentinels fan. And it will either end up being still a great time to be a Sentinels fan or like the worst time to be a Sentinels fan, honestly. But no, you've got John QT and Zekken. You've got the old man with them still. Like that's a good, you know, good core three to build on. And then, you know, you're looking, you have Scuba available, you have Jaw available, you potentially might get Demon One, you like Weeded, you've got like all these different smokes players, Vic, that like go under the radar for people that are coming up, and you know, duelist wise, flex wise, everything wise, all these players that didn't qualify. What I will tell you is, imagine the world M80 doesn't qualify, and Xander's available for this team. That's
nuts.
Like you get John and Kaplan reuniting with Xander, plus like, you know, a narrate. Holy shit, guys. Like some of the stuff that is potentially happening, or like you're potentially going to see for this team.
If you're Sentinels, which players are you looking at? Which players are you mostly targeting? Of course, I thought it was nice of him to mention Weeded as well, who it seems has recovered greatly from all the difficulties he's been going through over the last couple of months. Obviously, you know, diagnosed with a very rare form of cancer, been going through all sorts of treatments, and it seems like the treatments are going to come to an end shortly. So great news, really happy for him. And, you know, it seems like he's going to be back in business soon. Still with Turtle Troop, but he is going to be an unrestricted free agent if other teams are looking to get involved with bringing him onto the team. And as MCE says, there's a number of players that Sentinels could or should be looking at. And even as we said yesterday, there are other potential big name free agents on the radar. I mean, even Aspas is maybe gettable, depending on what you want to do. And if you are Sentinels, as I said yesterday, trying to replace Sassy and Tens, it ain't easy. You could sign good players that maybe aren't the biggest name players, but are certainly up there. You know, we're talking the likes of Narrate and Jorgamo and these type of candidates, or you try and get another superstar in, which is also maybe possible. So wanted to share Rocket Bullet's latest spreadsheets here. This is from the Americas. Not too many dramatic changes apart from exactly what might be happening here at G2, because we have a couple additional ones, and Jorgamo is again in the conversation, right? Because we're pretty sure that Jorgamo, well, at least yesterday, Jorgamo was on for Lev, potentially trialing over there. He's still on the list potentially for Sentinels as a candidate, and here he is appearing over at G2, and he's actually considered likely on this one. So the latest rumor is that G2, obviously Icy came into the team for Nets mid-season. Icy did a pretty good job. He got better, I would say, towards the end of the year, but maybe not good enough. And, you know, they're maybe looking at Oxy is an interesting one. Of course, he is on Cloud9. He may be gettable from Cloud9. Another player that is worthy of consideration for many teams, I guess. But now we're talking about Jorgamo potentially being an option there. or even Derke. And this is a very interesting prospect, right? And we've seen this before, and even this is what Sliggy has to say. We looked at briefly earlier that in the Americas, a cheap budget for a team in the Americas is pretty similar to the highest paid team you'd get in EMEA. That's just how it goes on the various regions. America's players are paid more. In EMEA, it's, you know, the salaries are lower, most certainly, even if the teams aren't necessarily that much worse, if at all. Like, obviously, you know, that region's been very strong with certain teams over the last couple of years. The Americas on average has been the strongest, and they certainly pay the money to justify that. So that's why Derke might be considering this G2 possibility if he's been trialing with them. That's a very interesting one. He's also, of course, been linked elsewhere to Vitality, has been another one that he's been linked to. So that is how it is right now. Derke's being linked to potentially go to G2 and maybe Vitality. A few other players have been added in as well. Of course, we've seen Na'Vi add lots of players lately. You know, Hero is now considered likely. They're trying all sorts of other guys as well. But I will just say, quite interesting here, because we saw earlier in the video, right, that Scream seemingly spotted here with the likes of Kadavra and, you know, Natank and all this. If you actually look on the spreadsheet here, you'll find that he's now being linked over to Na'Vi, and Kadavra seems to be gone from Gentlemate. So, you know, who knows what's happening over there. Maybe Scream is trying for these boys instead, and he's going to end up on Na'Vi. Maybe unlikely, but intrigued to your thoughts, as always, in the comments section below. So hit the like button if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, take care, and I'll see you next time.